Okay, this is that moment of truth where I gotta wait for everything to load up. What's up, everybody? I know there's a little bit of a lull, but I gotta just make sure that everything is in fact live before we kick in here, and I have to see it for myself. I don't have an on-site producer. Okay, YouTube, you are awake. Good morning, YouTube. Hope you are well. Twitter is awake, and Rockfin is awake. Neck and neck between YouTube and Rockfin today. I want to say it was a tie for second. So Twitter's always first. Twitter wakes up first, and then YouTube, Rockfin tie for second. We'll go with that. What's up, everybody? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Thanks for being here. This is Get Your News On with Ron, the headline show for the week. And there's a lot going on, a ton going on in the digital rights space, a lot going on in the worker labor rights space, a lot of strike news, and then just some quirky stuff. And we got it all. We got it all. So we got a lot to get through and some breaking stuff. Shout out to some of our friends who may help make this show possible. Our friends over at Indy Left. Indy Left is a place to find a bunch of the content creators you know and love. They curate a list. They update it twice a day to find out everything they got going on and to subscribe to their Discord, independentleft.media. All right, helping me through the headlines today. She was a regular. Then she got this crazy thing called a day job. Well, now she got a cooler day job set up. So she's back, and we're happy that she's back. And we're going to be seeing her on the road in April. Please welcome back Lauren Ashcraft. What's up, Lauren?
Hello, I'm so glad that I'm back and that I'm in a much better situation.
Good to see you again. Happy New Year. It's
Thank
been
you.
I know
Happy New Year to you too.
we spoke on the phone since yeah, we spoke on the phone once in 2022, but you haven't been
Yes.
back on the show yet. This is your first time.
It was a
So,
lovely catch up. It was
yeah.
lovely.
Yeah, well, happy New Year
Happy
and
New
good to
Year.
see you. And we got some breaking news. And this isn't good news, folks, but we're going to go right to it. So, here's what's happening. Breaking. This is happening right now as of the recording of this. The EarnIt Act, which is a bad thing, and don't worry, we'll go into that in more detail in a second. But the EarnIt Act just passed out of the Senate Judiciary Committee on a voice vote. But the good news is that 5 senators raised significant concerns about the bill, so we still have a chance to stop it before it hits the floor. I will plug this more throughout this segment, but no earnitact.org. You can go there. You can sign this petition. It is urgent. It is a call to action. Do it the moment this show is over. And so that's happening right now. It just went out of the committee via a voice vote. It's going to hit the floor. They're not supposed to move on it until next week, but who knows? They might end up moving faster. It's amazing when the government can act fast, by the way. But when it comes to things that help people, man, they are slow moving. But when it comes to Orwellian dystopian tech policy, boy, they can move really freaking quick. They could just move really freaking quick. Now, you might be thinking, Ron, I'm not a glutton for pain, and I don't keep in mind horrible tech policies in my short term memory. So, what is the Earn It Act? That's a fair question. So, let's go back to it. So, the Earn It Act, basically, what it does, this is from the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and this goes back to July of 2020. But here's what the Earn It Act does. So the Earn It Act basically turns over internet protections to state legislatures where they can just monitor you as much as they want. Here's from the text itself. The day before a committee debate and vote on the Earn It Act, the bill sponsors replaced their bill with an amended version. Here's the new idea. Instead of giving a 19-person federal commission dominated by law enforcement the power to regulate the internet, the bill now effectively gives the power to state legislatures. Now, another thing this does is it blows a hole in Section 230. We talk about Section 230 a lot on this show. You've probably heard a lot of other people opining on Section 230, and they haven't actually read the damn thing. Section 230 protects all free speech on the internet. It protects all speech on the internet. When someone says Section 230 just gives shield to social media companies, that is a gross under explanation of what Section 230 actually is. And the person who's saying that probably didn't actually read that. And by the way, there's bipartisan support for gutting a hole in Section 230. Trump wanted to do it. Biden wants to do it too. It's a really freaking bad idea because we're governed by two types of people who don't understand the internet and people like Marjorie Taylor Greene who can't freaking handle the internet. So That's essentially what the Earn It Act is. It allows state legislatures to, quote, monitor the internet and keep the internet safe. They say that this will make things safer for children, but it won't. It makes everybody more vulnerable on the internet because it ends encryption, which encryption helps keep your messages safe and private. It ends that, and it makes everybody more vulnerable. And imagine your state legislatures just kind of overseeing your messages. Lauren, you live in New York. Imagine a guy like Andrew Cuomo being able to see what you do online, being able to see your private correspondence.
Oh my gosh. I feel like he would love that. Like all these politicians would just be like, do they love me or do they love me? So they would read through everything that we say. Part of me secretly thinks that's why they're doing this.
Oh, totally. Well, I mean, the reason they're doing this, I mean, this is all about overreach. I mean, that's what these are total overcorrections. And I think part of this is a direct overreach because of ill intentions.
Yep.
Part of this is just straight up ignorance. I really do think that's part of it. There's a lot of people that are in government. They don't really understand how the internet works. So they think you can just apply laws to it as if it's a newspaper or something like that. And you can't. We need policy that actually meets the moment. And
Yep.
again, I've said this before. It's not, there are tons of digital rights organizations in this country. There's Fight for the Future, who, by the way, is really holding the front line on this one. And they're behind the noearnidact.org website where you can have a call to action. There's the EFF, there's Free Press, there's the Hispanic Media Coalition, there's the Center for Media Justice, there's My Cat Lucy Meowing. There's all kinds of digital rights organizations. All you have to do if you're an elected official is ask them. You know, I mean, why does Bernie?
That would require them to care, though, a little bit.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That would require them to care. I mean, I don't think the reason Bernie Sanders usually gets it right on tech issues is because he's some like fluent Reddit user. I think he gets it right because he asks the right people. By the way, Lucy says hello. You were wondering if she was going to make an appearance, and she did. Hi, Luz.
This is Queenie.
Hi, Queenie. Hi, Queenie.
She's in the blur.
We got our cats.
They're very into this topic of internet freedom. So,
well, I mean, cats dominate the internet. I mean, cats pretty rock the internet. So anything that would disrupt their meme / video / adorableness dominance, of course they're going to call that out. Of course they're going to be against that. So I don't blame them.
I also think back on like when I actually interned with the federal government, which was a long time ago now. I had a boss that literally didn't know how to copy and paste. And I think about like that's the kind of person that's like sitting in these meetings and is trying to decide like what can and can't be said on the internet. So I'm like, yeah, like you said, I don't know if they know what the internet is or how to use it. I don't think that they can do a Google.
There was that famous Republican guy who said it's a series of tubes. I forget. I mean, that was a long time ago at this point. But yeah, he just said it's a series of tubes.
Yeah.
And here's just another policy. And again, it's like everyone's talking about free speech online. Everyone's talking about content moderation. They're all talking about these things. But the actual policy that would really put this stuff in danger, no one's talking about that.
Yeah.
No, they love using the buzzwords, but no one's talking about the things that actually impact this stuff, the things that really freaking matter. So here's the website again before we move on. NoEarnItAct.org. NoEarnItAct.org. Please go there as soon as you're done with this episode. If you're listening to the podcast later, as soon as this podcast is over, go sign this. If you're watching the show live in real time now, as soon as we're done here, go sign this. Stop the EarnIt Act. This bill makes kids less safe, not more safe, and it would kill online privacy and free expression. Tell your lawmakers to oppose it. This is from the website itself. Red alert. U.S. Congress has reintroduced the EarnIt Act, a dangerous and misleading bill that claims to be about protecting children, but would actually put all of us in danger. The EarnIt Act threatens to destroy online encryption. We don't want that. That's a really bad thing. And by repeating the same mistakes as a previous bill called Sesta Fosta, it would lead to widespread internet censorship and crackdowns on marginalized communities. When EarnIt was introduced for the first time in 2020, it was shelved in the face of overwhelming public outcry and opposition from human rights groups. Right now, key lawmakers in the House and Senate are deciding whether this bill will advance. Sign the petition below to tell Congress, don't kill online encryption, protect free speech online, and reject the dangerous EarnIt Act. No EarnItAct.org. As of the recording of this, it has already moved through the committee onto the floor. No EarnItAct.org. Please act now. Do not wait. All right. There you go. We got call to actions here. We do have calls to action here. That's something we do. All right. So we're not going to leave digital rights quite yet because there's some more digital rights bad news, actually. And this concerns Gigi Sohn. So we have been covering Gigi Sohn, the fifth appointee to the FCC. We've been covering her nomination very extensively here. She was a Joe Biden nominee, and she would give the FCC a 3-2 majority in favor of net neutrality. She's also an excellent candidate. She is beyond qualified. She has been working in the public sphere for over 30 years, working in public interest for over 30 years. She has done work on the FCC before. She is very, very qualified. And she's an excellent pick. And they have drugged their feet. I think at this point, Biden has topped the record for taking the longest to appoint people to the FCC. He made Jessica Rosenworcel chair, which is good. But he took, I mean, it was historically long, probably because he's buddies with Comcast. He took historically long to keep his promise, a promise he didn't want to make, and appoint a pro-net neutrality FCC. That was a promise Joe Biden didn't want to make. Joe Biden as an individual, not for net neutrality. But he had to make that promise because of the Bernie Biden task force. So he did. And he appointed Jessica Rosenworcel head. Good. But now they're still in a 2-2 gridlock because they won't confirm Gigi Sohn. And what's happened? Well, she had a hearing. She got through the hearing. And a vote was scheduled. Here's what happened, though. One of the Democrats was sick. I believe it was a Democrat out in New Mexico. I'm forgetting the name. It's not super important. But they were sick, so they postponed the vote because they were worried they didn't have enough votes to get her through. So instead of just rescheduling the vote, what they did instead was they applied pressure to make her go through a second hearing. So not only did they postpone the vote, they backed it up even further and wanted to make her go through another hearing. She already went through a hearing. All right, so here's what happened at this second hearing that should have never had to have happened anyway. This is from Yahoo. Biden choice to create majority Democrat FCC fails to sway GOP. Republicans continue to criticize Joe Biden's nominee for the FCC at a hearing Wednesday that concluded with Democrats still supporting her. Nominee Gigi Sohn pushed back as Republican senators used the Commerce Committee hearing to question whether her early involvement in FCC policy and criticisms of Fox News were disqualifying. Okay, so here's the cliff notes of what she was involved in. During her time at the FCC, she was involved in a broadcast rebroadcasting issue that pertained to rebroadcasting in the digital sphere. Now, some people felt like that policy, while it was all about accessibility, it also went too far in not protecting copyright. And it was a disputed thing. I mean, again, this is tech policy. This is nuance. This is new territory. People are trying to figure this stuff out. And sometimes you have unintended consequences with things. So there was a little bit of controversy around this, and they ended up shelving it because of that. And that was the end of it. And Gigi Sohn, I mean, again, you would have to do a bigger deep dive into this stuff, which I have not done yet, but that's basically the gist of it. So it's like, okay, there was this thing where it's like it wanted to give people accessibility to broadcast and stuff like that. Others were worried it didn't go enough. It didn't do enough protecting copyright. That doesn't mean Gigi Sohn's against copyright protection. She isn't. She's for it. But, these things are complicated. You're trying to figure them out. So that's the big thing that they're pointing to. That's like, oh, well, maybe she had this one thing where there were disagreements. So maybe she's completely unqualified. The other thing, this other cardinal sin that she committed, she referred to Fox News as state-sponsored propaganda. As a consumer, she's not a big fan of Fox News, which, by the way, just for the record, I don't even agree with that statement. Fox News isn't state-sponsored propaganda. It's corporate-sponsored propaganda. That's my take anyway. But that's her big sin. She doesn't like Fox News. She's the only person in the United States, by the way. No one else has ever voiced a problem with Fox News. And somehow her work in the public interest for 30 years, often for marginalized groups, that is just a shadow to the fact that as a consumer, she's not a fan of Fox News. Those are her big cardinal sins. Those are a copyright issue that was complicated that people were trying to work through, that she's recused herself, and not a fan of Fox News.
I can see why the Republicans don't like her.
Well, of course.
But yeah, I think I've honestly, like everything that this whole government does, including all the Republicans, including Joe Biden, it's exhausting to be just like one of us in the middle who like cares, and is like a little bit sad to see things continue to crumble. That's where I am. It's really where I've been.
So this is such a small ask.
Yes.
This is like we have strong net neutrality protections in some states anyway. We have them here in California. So it's like the idea that the anti-net neutrality advocates are going to have their way anytime soon. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's like this is such an attainable win that goes a long way. Net neutrality is infinitely important. That's why I talk about it as much as I do. But like this is just such basically when a White House promises a pro net neutrality FCC, they have to deliver that on that.
Yep.
That's all there is to it. And the appointees are there, but they're still, just the bare minimum. If we started going off on all the things that the Biden administration has miserably failed at, we'd be talking for the next 12 hours. The short summary of it is everything. They've failed on everything. They've delivered on pretty much nothing. This is such a tiny, tiny hurdle. And they are making it out like Gigi Sohn is some like enemy with all these hidden agendas, and she has all this power. Meanwhile, she's just so completely qualified for this job. It's a breath of fresh air. Nobody was making a stink when Ajit Pai, who was just a mouthpiece for big cable and made no qualms about it. No one had a problem when Obama brought him into the fold and then Trump made him head. He was grossly unqualified for anything. No one cared. Meanwhile, it's like, here's someone who would vote the right way on net neutrality, and they are every little thing. And Democrats are complicit in this. A lot of Democrats are saying they'll support her. Some aren't even committing to that. And they're complicit. The chairwoman was like, sure, we'll do another nonsense hearing where you're just going to complain like, oh, she doesn't like Fox News.
Yeah. It's like a mixture of she's a qualified woman. I think that definitely has something to do with it. And also Comcast is in the pockets of all of these assholes.
Yeah.
So that's really the power of corporate money in politics, is we have easy wins that would help every single one of us. But they're like, no, she doesn't like Fox News. Like, no one cares. Not a single person cares. No one cares.
It's like, and I think these tweets are from like years ago. These are tweets she had. And it was even within the context of she was fighting for like a public advocacy thing at the time. I don't recall all the details off the top of my head, but she was basically fighting for a thing in the public interest that, of course, Fox News was against. They were on the other side of it. And Fox News, they like to manipulate data to follow their point of view. All the cable news networks do it, not just Fox, but Fox News certainly does that. So she responded and she's like, this is nonsense. This is state-sponsored propaganda. And everyone's like, oh my God, she doesn't like Fox News.
Yeah.
Because she has eyes and ears.
It is worth saying, if you have a cable package through Comcast or anybody else really, then like a part of what you're paying to them every month does go to Fox News, whether you subscribe to that channel or not. So it's all connected. Like Comcast Fox News, Republicans, Joe Biden, all these people just really want the corporations to be happy at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, look, Comcast owns MSNBC. Time Warner owns CNN. So big cable owns two of the cable news networks right there. And Fox News is just Rupert Murdoch's wet dream. They're completely against net neutrality because they know that a free and open internet threatens their business model. And so it is so calling it a circus is just not even, it doesn't even begin to touch how ridiculous it is that we're still, I mean, they're probably going to schedule another vote. They're going to cancel the vote and then make her do another hearing. That's probably going to happen next. That's
Yeah.
like it's just nuts. And this is just such a small given. I mean, this is a promise that Barack Obama had to keep. Barack Obama had to keep his promise for a free and open internet, and we got net neutrality on the books. We didn't get it because he wanted to. We didn't get it because Tom Wheeler wanted to. We got it because he had to make that promise, and because we, the people, screamed so loudly that we crashed the FCC's website, so they had to do it. We're in a position to do that again, but they just won't appoint her. You can go to battleforthenet.com. Demand that they confirm Gigi Sohn now. Enough with these stupid, nonsensical hearings. She doesn't like Fox News. She was involved in some copyright policy that was complicated. That she's beyond qualified. This is it's
all
so
I'll
infuriating.
say is the Republicans get stuff done in a terrible way because like Amy Coney Barrett was she was like nominated and then sitting in the court in a very, very short period of time. And every time I think about how long it takes to do any of the small promises that like a Democratic president has, I'm like,
Think
they're
of all
like,
the
there's,
stuff. I mean, all the stuff he could do with the stroke of a pen.
yeah,
All the stuff he could do with the stroke of a pen that he just will not do. Like I mean, student loan debt could be gone. We could
oh
all have
yeah.
health care. I mean, these are all things he could literally do
Wasn't
with the
that part
stroke
of
of a
his
pen.
plan? The Biden plan or something?
He promised, I think it was 10 grand and for student loan debt forgiveness. And, you know, we've gotten nada. He promised, I mean, he made a bunch of
Expanding the Affordable Care Act or something.
which means nothing. I mean, yeah, he promised that nothing. That's
Here's $1. I've done my job.
we haven't even gotten that.
Yeah,
We haven't
I
even
haven't
gotten
gotten
that.
my $1.
I haven't got my Biden buck yet. So here's a little bit of good news, though, before we get out of the digital rights space entirely. For today, anyway. There is some good news. So this tax season, folks, the IRS had a plan, and the IRS's plan was that they were going to use a company called ID Me to use facial recognition software for you when you do your taxes. Is that concerning? It freaking should be. Because facial recognition software, let's do a few bullet points on facial recognition software and why it needs to be banned. Facial recognition software, has mismatches constantly, especially when it comes to black and brown people. It can mismatch up to 98% of the time. There have been people who have literally been deported to countries they've never been to because of mismatches in facial recognition software. It is used for dishonest means constantly. You hear about law enforcement using it to find information out about one of their exes. These databases are hacked all the time by very dishonest people. If ICE has a database at the border and it's being hacked, what do you think people could do with that kind of stuff when that gets into the wrong hands, which is inevitably will? Also, there is no data, none, that indicates that facial recognition software makes us any safer at all. It does not help the good guys catch the bad guys. That ain't happening. It's freaking pointless. And they were going to use it for our tax returns. But guess what? We freaking stopped it. This is from the New York Times. IRS to end use of facial recognition for identity verification. After a bipartisan backlash, which is wrong, by the way. It wasn't a bipartisan backlash. It was the efforts of a ton of digital rights groups that had a grassroots efforts that stop this thing. The IRS plans to stop using facial recognition software to identify taxpayers seeking access to their accounts on the agency's website amid concerns over privacy and data security. hug a digital rights activist, because the reason this happened was because of a campaign organized by Fight for the Future and assisted by other digital rights organizations like Free Press. They made this happen, which proves that in this space, we can fricking win. So we'll end it on a win. It's very frustrating what's going on with the Earn It Act. And by the way, go to noearnitact.org and let your senators know. It's really frustrating what's going on with the FCC and Gigi Sohn. Go to battleforthenet.com and sign there. Demand that they confirm her. But guess what? These efforts, the calls to action that I just gave you, they can work. They have worked in the past. They will work in the future. Because here's an example to close of them working. There's not going to be some dystopian Orwellian facial recognition nonsense going on this tax season. There would have been otherwise if it wasn't for the effort of digital rights groups. Lauren, are you stoked?
Yes. Yeah, oops. I think I accidentally muted myself. Am I back?
You're here. Yeah, no, you're
okay,
here.
Good. Oh no, I'm stoked. I like that we closed that on a win, because that really does show that people coming together to do things matters. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, and this is one of those spaces where it is infinitely important. It is our digital village, and we need to preserve it. We need to foster it. We need to care for it, or we're going to lose it. It's just going to happen. That's why we talk about digital rights all the time on this show. But it's also a space where we do have some people power. It's there. I've seen it. I've been part of 2 campaigns that have overall been successful. I was part of a campaign for net neutrality. California passed the net neutrality bill. We're about to hopefully get it back on a federal level as soon as Gigi Sohn's confirmed. I was on a campaign to ban facial recognition software. That movement has expanded. I mean, there's still a lot of work to be done, but this is one of the spaces where your voice really does make a difference. You do have the power to do something, and it's infinitely important that you do, because this is our freaking future. It really is.
Totally. I'm here for it.
So let's move on to labor. Lauren, I don't know if you got a chance to see this. I haven't watched this video in full. We're going to watch it together. But so Starbucks, they're unionizing. There's been Starbucks unionization efforts in Buffalo and other places in the country. There was a union effort in Memphis, and guess how Starbucks responded? They fired all the people trying to unionize. This is from More Perfect Union. Exclusive. Pro-union Starbucks workers in Memphis speak publicly for the first time since being fired. So let's just hear directly from them, and let's hear what they have to say. Let me go ahead and start this from the beginning.
Hi, I'm Beto Sanchez. I was a shift supervisor at the Poplar and Highland store here in Memphis, and I am a member of the union committee here, and I was fired.
My name is Lakota McGlawn. I was a shift supervisor at the Poplar and Highland Starbucks here in Memphis, as well as a member of the organizing committee here in Memphis, and I was fired today.
Hello, I'm Nikki Taylor, also a shift supervisor at the Poplar and Highland store, also part of the union committee, and I was fired today.
Hi, my name is Nebretta Harden. I am a barista, was a barista at Starbucks. I am a part of the unionized committee here in Memphis, and I was fired today.
So Starbucks corporate gave us a whole bunch of policies and reasons that we were fired, policies that were never enforced before, to say that they were fireable offenses. And it's to silence us, and we won't be silenced.
I was fired because I was entering the back of house off duty, which is ridiculous, and I was also having my mask off while off duty.
I was fired today because I apparently went in the back of house without off duty. I was seen with my mask off, and I was also seen working off the clock, which entails me locking the door.
I was told that I unlocked the same door that the brother locked. I was also told that I was in back of house and behind the bar during closed hours.
As the key holder of the shift, I was fired for allowing everything to happen.
Again, Starbucks is trying to silence us, but just let it be known, we will not be silenced.
And you can go to perfectunion.us to see more of what's been going on here. So they basically just made shit up to fire these people. I mean, it's just like so
It's so blatant.
It's so blatant. It's like, oh, maybe they clocked out and then were like, oh crap, I gotta lock the door, and they did that. Or maybe they clocked out and they took a sip of water or had something to eat, so their mask was off. And Starbucks is using that to fire them because they're trying to unionize.
If I walk into my Starbucks right now and take a picture, I'm 100% sure that not everyone will be fully and properly masked. So
Sure.
I just, it doesn't make any sense to me that, I mean, it does make sense, unfortunately, because unionizing is how you get things like a weekend and a 40-hour work week and paid holidays off. And our country, we're at an all-time low for union membership because of stuff like this, that you're fired and intimidated for wanting to fight for your rights at work. So that's exactly what's happening here.
They're scared. And when I say they, I don't just mean Starbucks. I don't just mean McDonald's. I mean all of it. I mean Amazon. I mean all of these companies. They are scared right now because they know like people have just had enough. I mean there was that thing that McDonald's is giving the letters to their employees, like asking them to not quit at tax return time. Which how messed up is it that they know that people are going to get a handy tax return because they keep people below the poverty line intentionally. They don't give people living wages. And they know that people are going to want to look for a different job. Like those people aren't quitting because they're like, I got a tax return that's going to last me forever. No one thinks that. People know that that's only so much money, but it's enough to give you a little bit of a buffer, that you can look for a new job. Yeah. And so McDonald's is like, please don't quit. Please don't quit. Please. And it's like they're scared right now. And they should be. And
maybe just pay people more.
I mean, no kidding. It's like all these efforts that they've made to like stop unionization, they probably could have just treated people better. And it would have cost the same, if not less. Like it doesn't even, at this point, it's just sociopathy, because at this point it's just, you are so brainwashed by capitalism that you don't even from your psychotic capitalistic perspective, it makes no sense to do things the way you do them. It just makes no sense to do things. I mean, just look at study after study that when workers are happy and they're treated right, productivity goes up and everything goes up. And also all these efforts you're doing. I mean, look at what they did in Bessemer with the Amazon. I mean, all those things that they did to stop those people from unionizing, to the point where the labor board decided you have to redo this vote, which they're redoing now because it was so messed up. And now here at Starbucks, you're deliberately going out of your way. You're firing people who are trying to unionize because you know that it's working. So you want to just stop people in their tracks. So you're making stuff up to fire these people. And it's like, just give people a living wage. And the worst part is Starbucks used to be, and maybe they still are in comparison, but it's like Starbucks used to be a little bit better compared to, and I know we're comparing, like, I mean, these are all exploitative, horrible companies, and I'm not saying Starbucks isn't. I'm just saying compared to like a Walmart or something like that, Starbucks at least gave people benefits. There was some tuition remission, and they even if you were 20 hours a week, they would still give you benefits and stuff like that. So Starbucks was a little bit better than some of these completely predatory to the gills companies. I don't know if that's the case anymore or not, but it's like, and they're pulling this nonsense, and it's just, something's got to give. I mean, the time is now for just a straight up general strike.
Yeah, and it's just so obvious to me that corporate money does not belong in politics at all. It's like the number one thing that's keeping us from everything that we want, from universal health care to, getting some common sense gun legislation, for example, to getting protecting workers and workers' rights and helping them unionize across the whole country. All of these things are being prevented by huge corporate lobbies just throwing money at politicians. And if that one law changes, that we stop that inflow of money, everything could topple that is just corrupting our whole system.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just at this point, it's like they're all doing the same stuff, and it's just like there's just this rotating cast of villains where it's like, and the reality is like the entire system is the villain. You
Mm.
know, it's just like, oh, look at how terrible Red Lobster is. They're making employees work sick. Yeah, absolutely. They're terrible. Look at how terrible Starbucks is. They're firing employees for trying to unionize. Look at how horrible Amazon is. They're intimidating employees trying to unionize. Look at how horrible. No, they're all horrible. And that's the system.
It's a
That is the
system.
system.
And we
It's a
have
complete.
nothing to protect people. Like federally, we have no laws that is like whenever you're sick with an infectious disease that causes a global pandemic, you should be able to rest. Like there's nothing like that
They
federally.
changed the laws to help the system. The CD said 5 days. The CDC said 5 days is fine. Is that based on science? Is that based on medicine? No, it's based on the economy.
Yep.
They even said it. Fauci literally said that.
Yeah.
I mean, they just admit it now. I mean, we're literally just a society that's working ourselves to death. And unless like the working class says no, and we are seeing this. I mean, we're seeing strikes, and we're going to go to a strike here in just a second. We are seeing a lot of strikes pop up throughout the country, and it's huge, and it matters, and it's helping. But we need to have, I mean, look, I don't call for a general strike because I think it'll be easy. I know it won't be easy. I think it'll probably be the hardest thing this country's ever had to do in the past 100 years. But what's the alternative? What is the alternative? If we don't do a straight up general strike, which a general strike does not literally mean nobody's working. That's not what it actually means. A general strike means we shut the system down in a way that it hurts the pockets of the ruling class, but not in a way where it doesn't allow us to still have our needs be met. That's what a general strike means. A general strike means that a doctor doesn't go to a hospital because they are necessary to help sick people. A general strike doesn't mean that we don't have systems in place so that people can't put food on their tables or that people can't have their children taken care of. A general strike doesn't mean that somebody who's a communication vehicle and has a show or a platform shouldn't do that to try to help. I mean, hell, like I'd imagine in the scenario of a general strike, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help. I'm willing. I mean, fuck, I'll go. I'll tell jokes to people at a picket line if it helps. You know, I'll use this show for anything I can do to help. I want to help. But that's what a general strike really is. It's shutting down these systems so that the Jeff Bezos of the world, they feel it in their pocketbooks. And then they go to the politicians because let's be honest, they're the ones who really fucking run things. They're the ones who really, they got the politicians in their pocket and they say, fix this, fix this. And then guess what? That's when we win. That's when we win. And that's when we're in a better place to really start giving the true systemic change that we need, which the real systemic change we need is to get away from capitalism completely. Not a little bit, completely. We either transform to a society that's based on human needs and being stewards to the earth, which is literally eco-socialism. There's a word for that. It's called eco-socialism. We either do that or we ain't going to be here much longer.
Mm-hmm.
Full stop. I mean, that's it. That's it. And a general strike is essential to making that happen.
Agree. And I think it's so clear that money is dictating everything in our politics. So that's the main way that we can fight back is, for example, stop buying stuff from these terrible companies if you can. If you can support literally anybody else and get the same product, and if you can afford it, shop elsewhere. Don't buy from Amazon. Don't buy from Starbucks. If they're fighting the unionization of their workers, anyone who's union busting does not deserve your hard-earned money.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing too. Like when it comes to just alternative systems and alternative networks and alternative like being the best consumers we can be, it's all about doing what you can within your circumstance. None of us are perfect. Like let's, none of us there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. That is true. However, that's not an excuse to not do your best. And, someone like you and someone like me, we live in very we live in big cities, right? You're in New York, I'm in LA. So we have the ability, we can avoid Amazon pretty easily. We can avoid big chains pretty easily. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I bought anything from a Starbucks.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to. I mean, in my neighborhood, there is a Starbucks. I had to think for a second about where it is. It's not in an area I ever go. It's kind of like off one of the main streets, excuse me. To go there, I would have to seek it out. In my downtown area, in my neighborhood where I would go, there's not a Starbucks anyway. And if there was, I wouldn't go to it because there's three other local shops that I'd rather patronize. Two of them are kind of more regular coffee shops. One of them specializes in different tea drinks. I go to all three of them for different things. And they're all great and they're all totally local. So, yeah, I have no problem not going to Starbucks. For somebody that lives in a rural area, well, maybe Starbucks is literally the only shop they have. So, yeah, maybe you find yourself going to Starbucks occasionally. I get it. But you can do things that I can't do. You can grow a big garden. I can't really do that. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. I don't have a yard. So it's all about whatever circumstance you're in, doing the best you can within that circumstance. And it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. It just depends on where you're at.
Yeah. Like a single mom is, maybe she gets socks for her kids at Walmart, and like I'm not going to judge her for that.
Sure.
So yeah, it's really like you said, Ron, it's like doing the best that you can given your circumstances, and every dollar that you take by means of not spending it at these huge corporations and support your local cafes, your local mom and pop shops, that's good that you're doing. That's fine.
So let's go to some more strike news here. This is from Rebecca Parson, friend of the show. She's been on the show before. She's up in the Seattle area. Did you know a general strike is happening in Seattle right now? She tweets. This is again from More Perfect Union. Striking concrete workers in Seattle have shut down the city's $23 billion construction industry. Let's watch part of this.
There's a lot of tower cranes up downtown, and just drove through there, and those jobs are ghost towns right now. They need concrete. They're waiting on concrete. We want a deal. We want to go back to work.
We are a band of 330 ready mix drivers, dump truck drivers that take a lot of pride in our work.
How long can Seattle go without the construction continuing? We're willing to stay out here as long as we have to.
Because of the ongoing demonstrations, Seattle's $23 billion construction industry has paused without concrete.
Boom!
Yes!
Yes! The Teamsters are behind this. The Teamsters are fighting for higher wages and better health benefits. This is from More Perfect Union. Follow More Perfect Union on Twitter and go to perfectunion.us for more on what happened at Starbucks and more on this. 34 workers walked out in November. Now 300 plus workers at 6 companies are on a general strike, and they're halting a $23 billion construction. Here's the thing. People feel that.
I love it.
They have power. They're stopping it in its tracks. They're saying no. And they're saying, we take pride in our work. We take pride in what we do. And we want to be treated the way we should be treated. And that means you get living wages. That means you get good health benefits as long as healthcare is tied to employment, which hopefully it's not for much longer. But as long as it is, you get good health benefits. You get paid time off. You get paid enough that you can go on a decent vacation. You get maternity leave and paternity leave. These are all things other countries have. Other countries have all these things. We have none of them because we've accepted less and less, and we've allowed unions to be defanged for the past 50 years, and we've forgotten what it means to have a strong working class, and it's by design. The powers that be decimated this through years of propaganda, years of decimating the working class, and it's time to start taking it back.
Those people who are standing out there in the cold and fighting for workers' rights, that's That's like an American freaking hero. They're amazing.
Yeah.
Also, may I add that they all had very cool beards.
They did all have really good beards.
Every single one of them.
They take pride in their beards too.
Yes.
All power to them.
Beards for workers' rights.
Yeah, no, they all had excellent. Yeah. I firsthand confession here. I applaud them because my beard attempts. No, I didn't do it well. I didn't do it well. I don't. And I gotta say, when there's a ginger beard that knows what they're doing, it's. I mean, you are the closest thing to a human lion, and it is majestic. It is beautiful. And so to my fellow gingers who do it well, I salute you, I applaud you, and I am humbled by you. And I wish I could match you, but every attempt has been a miserable failure.
Someday, Ron.
I don't think so. No.
I'm going to just join the show and you're going to have like a 6-foot-long beard and I'm going to be like, damn.
If I'm being totally honest, which Lauren, for whatever reason, you bring out this level of things I'm willing to share in me. I don't think there will ever be another try because the truth of it all, if I tried again, it wouldn't be all red. It wouldn't be all red. Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah. There'd be some Santa Claus stuff going on in there.
But it means you're human. You are a
Okay.
human who is going through the human process. So it's good confirmation.
Right. I mean, if you want to put a bow on it, I'll take it.
I'm also flattered that I bring out your secrets. So
I know. Oh, thank you for that. Yeah. No, it's I always thought I would go bald before I went gray, but maybe that's not going to be the case. We'll see. Cause like baldness kind of runs in my family. So I feel like eventually it's going to hit me, but I don't know, like my facial hair. I mean, that's why I started going clean shaven in the first place. I noticed a gray or two and I was like, done. We're done.
You have a great head of hair.
Thank you.
So it's just the beard, which doesn't affect you anyway because you don't have one.
I appreciate that. That's right. And it'll probably stay that way.
That's great.
But some people are giving shout outs to the Viking beard. I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. Oh, and I also got to give a shout out to somebody put this in the chat and it actually made me laugh out loud. I don't know if you guys noticed at one point, I was just kind of laughing at a time where it wasn't really appropriate to laugh. It was because I saw this. Rainstorm put this in the chat. They go, it takes, I was mentioning the digital village when we were talking about all the digital rights stories earlier. It takes a digital village to raise a digital child. That's really funny. Salute, Rainstorm. That's awesome. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. That made me laugh. So yeah, shout out to the Concrete Mixers and their strike. Shout out to More Perfect Union for highlighting these stories, and definitely go there to learn more. Follow them on Twitter, More Perfect Union. And also, last thing today, this is just an irritating political story. And check this out. You know that spending bill that's a compromise of a compromise of a compromise of a compromise of a compromise? Well, now free community college is no longer part of it. No free community college, says Jill Biden. Joe didn't even bring that news to us. Jill Biden, the first lady.
Who asked you, Jill? I mean, Dr. Biden?
Exactly. That is so infuriating. The person who insists on everyone calling her doctor. The world needs to know that I had enough time to earn a PhD in my life. The world needs to know this about me. The world needs to know she's the one who wants to help make it so that not everyone gets that opportunity.
Nobody asked you.
It's so amazing. It's so amazing. Joe Biden, I mean, and by the way, this is a side note. I can say this as a former academic. Anyone who insists on being called doctor never has anything interesting to say. I mean, if you're a medical doctor, that's it. But if you're just like you have a PhD and you just insist in every, it's doctor, you're compensating. You're overcompensating. And by the way, I'll prove my point. Does Stephanie Kelton insist on being called Dr. Stephanie Kelton? No,
she's
she
great.
doesn't. She's awesome. Does Cornel West do that?
No.
No. Does Noam Chomsky?
No.
Does Richard Wolff?
No.
Jill Biden does, though.
Yes, and she
Brutal.
doesn't think that other people needed education.
Right. I mean, it's so amazing. In other countries where education is a public good, you can get a PhD without going into crippling amounts of debt. Here, we're not even willing to do the bare minimum. The bare minimum, 2 years of free community college to start to alleviate that system.
Well, I certainly won't be voting for her for anything.
Do you think she'll run for something ever?
I think she just talks.
Yeah.
All these people are just like, I think there really is something to, like, if you're some sort of elite. Like, did you see the Dave Chappelle thing where he, like, threatened to remove all his money from, like, local investments to stop the building of affordable housing?
I saw that. I don't have a full assessment on that yet because I think there might be, like, those developers might have been a little shady too.
Okay.
I'm not like, so I don't have a full assessment yet. The only thing I did make a joke that I was bummed out he wasn't there for municipal broadband. But I don't have a full take on that yet, just because I feel like I don't know the full story.
Okay.
But-
Fair. And I'll also wait for further developments on that. But I have this, like, thing where I don't know what it feels like to be any kind of elite or rich or anything. But, like, is it like an exclusive club where they're sitting around and they're like, "Hey, you're rich. How do we keep other people from being in our club?" Like, what's it feel like? That's what I get with this thing from Dr. Biden.
Well,
She's
how have you felt about the peaks under the hood that you have had? Because you've
uh
had them.
well, I mean, enough to, like, never want to run for Congress again. Like,
I
the
think that
people,
answers your question.
yeah, totally. I think it's like a mixture of people being completely clueless, of, like, I can't even explain. People are so rich and privileged that they're so disconnected from the fact that, like, maybe I can't pay $500 for a doctor's visit. That blows some people's mind. But to, like, go out of your way to make a statement about community college needing to cost money, like, what's going wrong in your life that you need to keep people from going to community college?
I think she was just the messenger for whatever reason. And it is sort of like an ironic choice. Maybe they thought that, well, because she's Dr. Jill Biden, people will know that, hey, even though we're scrapping free community college, education's important to us. Maybe that was their PR plan. And it backfired because I think a lot of people are like, wow, that is a very tragic irony coming from Miss, hey, I earned a PhD and the world needs to know. Which I could tell you again. I got out of grad school. I left after my MA, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I'm not in that world. But there are some incredibly underwhelming people who have earned PhDs. All right, there's also some brilliant people, but
The
there are a
best
lot.
teachers I had in college did not have PhDs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they just had, like, open door policies where they're like, "Come ask any questions anytime. My office hours are always." And they were just, like, adjuncts. Awesome
Mhm.
people.
Did they let you call them by their first name?
Yes. And I
Yeah.
still, like, have, like, a Facebook Messenger relationship with them. It's great.
I have that with some of my professors, some, PhDs, some not. But like, yeah, when I taught, I let people call me by my first name, and they got so excited about that. Like, I
Oh,
was just like, you can call me Ron. And they were like, oh my God, Ron. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't, whatever. That's cool with me.
that's awesome. So you wouldn't make people call you Dr. Placone?
No, well, that'd be a lie. I don't have a PhD. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't make them call me that. But yeah, I mean, I told them, if you want to call me Mr. Placone, because some people, they don't feel comfortable calling a teacher by their first name.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, if you want to call me Mr. Placone, you can. I don't care. But you can call me Ron. That's fine. Like, whatever you're comfortable with is cool with me. So, And if they asked me what my preference was, I was like, I'd prefer you just call me Ron. But,
Beatmaster Ron.
Beatmaster Ron. I mean, I didn't want to put too much burden on them. But yeah, I mean, Beatmaster Ron would have been my first choice, if we're being honest.
Yeah. Next time you teach classes.
I wonder if there will ever be a next time for that too. I doubt there will be. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that chapter of my life is likely closed. But I said I would go back to it if I ever got like sick of everything. You know what I mean?
Well, I hope you don't go back to it then, because you're needed in this world. Get people to sign these petitions to
That's right.
stop our politicians from,
Some
bankrupting.
people need to know where to go
They do.
to sign digital rights petitions, and that's where I come in.
Yes.
I try to be that person. Which, by the way, we'll do a quick summary. NoEarnItAct.org, battleforthenet.com. That one's for net neutrality, and of course, follow More Perfect Union to find out everything that's going on with strikes and what's going on with unions. And Lauren, we're gonna be on the road a little bit together.
We are
Yeah.
in our home base, Pittsburgh.
That's right.
And New York, which is my home base now.
Yes. So I'm going to be on the road in April, and Lauren is going to be opening the Pittsburgh show, and she's going to be opening the New York show. And the Pittsburgh show is August, April 16th, and the New York show is April 25th. And you can get tickets now at romplicone.com. You can get those tickets now.
Please do, because my friends are coming out, and you don't want to not get a ticket because they're buying the tickets first.
There you go. Get them now. Lauren, where can everyone go to learn everything about you?
I'm pretty much everywhere, but on Twitter, you can follow me at VoteAshcraft, but please don't vote for me for anything else. It's just my name.
Can you change the handle?
No,
Do you want
because
it? Oh, really?
I would change it, but then I would lose my blue check, and then I would get shut down immediately because I always go after the oligarchs.
Okay, I get it.
So it's really like it's insurance.
I feel you. No, that makes sense. That makes total sense.
Yeah, but it's awkward because they're like, "Oh, are you running again?" And I'm like, "Never again."
You'll never run again at all?
I can't imagine. I can't imagine. It took until like yesterday for me to like mentally heal from 2020. So I don't know.
Imagine. One of these days we got to just do a deep dive of everything you went through.
Yeah,
if you're willing, just like we'll do a deep dive. It'll probably be a series.
Yeah.
And it'll just be like, it'll be a podcast series on just everything from the good, the bad, to the ugly, to the uglier, to the ugliest of just everything you freaking went through.
Let's do it. That would be therapeutic for me. It's like,
really?
What's that like PTSD treatment where they're like, look at it. That's what this will be.
I can just and we've had this conversation multiple times before, but it's like, I can only imagine, because I've had some peeks under the hood, not from the seat you were in, but just in general. And I've had some similar things where it's like, I've been around people, like you were talking about being around people that are just so privileged that they just have no clue. I was at this thing once. It was like a Hollywood-esque thing where it was like they were trying to do some things and they were literally saying, how can we just have regular people know that we want to help? And it's like, well, you can talk about the stuff that pertains to their lives. And they're like, okay, so like Trump and Russia, right? No, people are worried about how they're going to make rent. And it's just like, people really, some people, it's like they might have good intentions, but they are so clueless and they have so much money that could go so far. If you just, if I ever become rich, what I plan to do, like the big thing I plan to do, and by all means, everyone hold me to this. If I ever get money, what I plan to do is I plan to just hire somebody who is like a mutual aid activist or just like a grassroots activist. And I plan to just hire them, and I plan to just give them a stipend, to live on, and it will be a decent wage. They're going to make a great living. And then I'm just going to give them money to use. And I'm just going to say, just make the world a better place. Make the community a better place. And then I'm going to have some oversight, so it's like once a month, they're going to like meet with me and maybe like a board or something to make sure they're doing good. But that's what I'm going to do, because it's like, I will inevitably I feel like if you get money, you are inevitably a little disconnected, like a little bit, like it's human nature. It's impossible. So it's like, I would be like, okay, I'm inevitably gonna be a little out of touch. So I'm just gonna give money to someone who isn't.
Yes.
Like that's what I mean, if every wealthy person did that, the world would be such a better place.
You just need to you need to pay someone to pay someone to call you and be like, or like come over every like 3 months or something and just slap you in the face and be like, get back with reality. Because that I something has to happen. If you're rich and listening to this, just slap yourself and pretend that it's hard to pay for your medical bills like the rest of us.
There you go. Lauren, thanks for being here. And I can't wait to, well, you'll be on the show beforehand, but I can't wait to see you in April at the shows. And in the meantime, good to have you back.
It's great to be back, my friend, and good to see all you people out there, and look forward to next time.
All right, everyone follow Lauren at Vote Ashcraft. Peace, Lauren. Be well.
Bye. Thank you.
See ya. All right. Let me go to the chat real quick here before we sign off. Chris Kelly, what's up? How are you? I haven't seen you in a while. I hope you are doing well. Thank you very much for your Super Chat contribution. Leadership. Ron, you're doing it. Show us what we can do. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say. And thank you. And thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. Let's see here. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Susan, you say the Beatles managed to keep in touch. Did they? Paul McCartney's a billionaire. Paul McCartney's a billionaire because of a racist system that screwed over a lot of black songwriters. Did they manage to keep... And by the way, I'm not begrudging Paul McCartney for this. I'm just saying, is it unfair to say that the Beatles might have lost touch a little bit? I don't think that's unfair to say. I think a lot of people were let down by songs like, You Say You Want a Revolution. But, some people felt like that was a bit of a neoliberal message. I don't fully agree with that interpretation. But I don't think it's totally unfair to say that. And by the way, again, I love Paul McCartney. Love the guy's music. I think the guy's a good guy. I'm not saying you can't still be a decent person. I'm just saying when you have that amount of wealth, yeah, you're going to be out of touch a little bit. It's pretty much impossible not to be. I like Bruce Springsteen. I think he's a good dude. I think he genuinely wants to help. And I love his music. But if someone said, do you think Bruce Springsteen's a little out of touch? I would say, yeah. Yeah, I think Bruce Springsteen's a little out of touch. Totally. I mean, so, I get your point. I do take your point. But yeah, I mean, that's all I'm saying. In this hypothetical, and hey, who knows? Maybe I wouldn't, in this hypothetical situation where I'm a wealthy person, which probably will never happen. But in case it does, I'm just saying, maybe I wouldn't ever get out of touch. Who knows? Maybe I wouldn't. But I'd rather not take that chance. And I'd rather just be like, hey, I have means. Here's somebody who is making their community a better place on a daily basis. They're volunteering their time. They're boots on the ground. They're making sure that hungry people have food in their bellies. I want to give that person a job so they can do this for a living because they're doing a good service. And I want to make sure they make a good living doing it. And I want to also give them means so that I know that it's spent in a very constructive way. That's all I'm saying. Maybe I wouldn't lose touch. But in case I were to, it wouldn't matter because I would still be using the abundance I have for something good. Or it wouldn't matter as much. That's all I'm saying. But I take your point. I see your point. I understand where you're going with that, Susan, and I do take your point. That is definitely valid. All right, and Chris, thank you again. I appreciate that very much. And guys, thank you for being here, and thank you for being here for this week's headline show. And again, no EarnItAct.org, no EarnItAct.org. Go there now. Sign it now. It's going to the floor. It's on its way there. We have to stop it. It is a terrible act. Battleforthenet.com. Make them confirm Gigi, Sohn, and follow what's going on at More Perfect Union. Follow what's going on. Status Quo just released a bunch of stuff about unionization efforts at Amazon. Follow these outlets to know what's going on with labor rights, and you know the drill. Chris, thank you very much again for the Super Chat contribution. You help keep the show on the air, and you know the drill. Lucy says meow. I say peace, love, and a general strike. Oh, and tour dates. I got them. Pittsburgh, Lauren Ashcraft's going to be there. Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Burlington, Portland, Maine, Boston, Mass, New York City. Lauren Ashcraft's going to be there. Peace, love, and a general strike. See you next week.